Welcome to Whispered Anti-Tales, where every story is a whisper from the heart about love, betrayal, strength, and second chances. So sit back, take a deep breath, and let Auntie tell you a story you'll never forget. I never thought I would hear those words come from my own daughter-in-law's mouth. They weren't whispered in anger or frustration, not even muttered in a fleeting moment of exasperation. No, they were sharp, deliberate, designed to cut deep, and they landed with surgical precision. "You're the problem," she said, tilting her perfectly made-up face at me as if she were passing judgment on someone utterly beneath her. The house had been quiet that morning. Sunlight spilled across the kitchen counters, bouncing off the polished oak floors. I had just finished arranging the flowers for my garden roses, peonies and hydrangeas, their colors vibrant in the soft light. It should have been a normal Tuesday. Blake was at work, running through his endless corporate meetings, and I was left with a comforting hum of my own routine. Crossword, checking the mail. But those words changed everything. At first I thought I had misheard. Perhaps it was the tone of her voice, the way her lip curled slightly as she said it. That made it sound worse than it was. But no, each syllable repeated in my mind, louder and louder. "You're the problem." I sat there for a moment, letting it soak in, watching the steam curl lazily from my cup of Colombian coffee. The morning, once serene, felt suffocating. I have spent 42 years of my life managing expectations, smoothing over disputes, and creating harmony, first in my own family, then in my son's life, and finally in the home I shared with them. I had always believed in being the quiet force, the unacknowledged anchor. But Margaret, I reminded myself, even anchors can break. I began that day with a plan, not a vengeful plan at least, not at first, but a careful, deliberate one. I would observe. I would collect. I would understand exactly what had driven her to say such a thing. After all, words so cruel are never idle. I watched her as she moved through the house with the confidence of someone who believed herself untouchable. Every gesture was measured, every laugh precise, every glance calculated. She had been living here for 6 months, married to my son, Blake, and slowly, imperceptibly, she had begun to claim the household as her own. I had tolerated her small the way she rearranged my grandmother's antique vases, the subtle critiques of my cooking, the constant insistence on her brand of cleanliness, but now it had escalated to outright verbal assault. As she fussed over Blake's dinner plans, insisting we make reservations at a new downtown bistro instead of enjoying the quiet comfort of our home, I began documenting everything, not in secret, not in paranoia, but as evidence. Every phone call she made late at night, every errand she ran that didn't include Blake, every casual comment that revealed her disdain for me. By noon, I had a plan forming in my mind, intricate and unyielding. It wasn't about shouting, confrontation, or humiliation. It was about exposure. Every slight, every insult, every calculated move she had made against me would be mirrored back to her in a way she could not deny. And it would come from me, calm, composed, unshakable. I began small. The first move was subtle. I started adjusting the little things she took for granted. The way the thermostat was set, the position of her coffee mug, the labels on the pantry. She noticed, of course. Her complaints were muffled and indirect at first, then sharp and frustrated. Each reaction was logged in my notebook, every emotion cataloged with the precision of a scientist documenting an experiment. By the time evening arrived, she was on edge. I could see it in the way she spoke to Blake, the way she hesitated before answering questions, the way her perfectly styled hair seemed slightly out of place. As she paced the living room, she was unaware that I had been preparing for the moment she would slip, the exact instant she would reveal herself fully. Dinner that night was arranged with care. Not just any dinner, a tableau designed to reflect every hidden truth. I cooked Blake's favorite meal, roast chicken with rosemary, garlic mashed potatoes, and a crisp garden salad. The table was set meticulously, silverware aligned, glasses polished, napkins folded perfectly. Every detail mattered. She arrived expecting chaos, perhaps a chance to assert dominance. Instead, she found a serene, orderly environment where nothing was out of place and everything reflected the life she had begun to take for granted. As the evening progressed, subtle truths began to slip. Comments she thought were private reached me through overheard phone conversations and the very pattern of her actions that day. By the time dessert arrived, a simple yet elegant lemon tart, I had everything I needed. I smiled as I served the tart. It was calm, controlled, deliberate. The first taste of reality often comes quietly, Margaret, I reminded myself. A subtle glance, a reference to something she had assumed I had never noticed. And then the unraveling began. Her composure faltered. The confidence she had wielded like a shield cracked under the weight of observation and preparation. I let her stumble, let her squirm, let her face the consequences of the life she had tried to claim as her own. I revealed small secrets first, minor things, she thought. I didn't see the extra charge at the spa she billed to the shared credit card, the gifts she purchased for herself while Blake scrambled to cover household bills, the messages she had sent complaining about me behind my back. Her eyes widened, her perfect posture faltered. Each revelation was deliberate, like a carefully placed domino. By the time I moved on to the bigger discoveries, she was trembling slightly. I had documented every errand, every slight, every action that showed her true intentions. I had proof she thought she could manipulate both my son and me, and I laid it all out with calm precision. You thought I wouldn't notice, I said softly, pouring another cup of coffee, but I did. Every single thing. Her mouth opened, closed, then opened again. A silent plea she thought could undo months of careful observation. I shook my head. Not a word of anger escaped me. Calm was far more effective than shouting. Silence can be louder than any scream. By the next morning, the culmination of my efforts had begun. I arranged for Blake to discover the trail of small betrayals and hidden actions, the receipts, the messages. The discrepancies all presented subtly on the kitchen counter. I didn't confront her directly at first. I let her arrogance and overconfidence do the work. Blake, bewildered, began asking questions. Why is this here? I don't understand. I answered only with calm explanations, letting him see the truth step by step. By the time he understood, the impact on his wife, my daughter-in-law, was already happening. Her control, the one she had wielded like a weapon, was evaporating. She attempted to cover, to redirect, to manipulate again, but each move was anticipated, neutralized, and exposed. It was poetic, elegant. I felt no joy in cruelty, only satisfaction, in seeing the truth reflected back at her, in a way she could not deny. By the afternoon, she realized that her image of dominance had collapsed. My calm, deliberate approach left her no room to maneuver. Each attempt to regain authority, each raised eyebrow, each pointed remark from her, was met with unwavering composure. Margaret had become a mirror, reflecting all her intentions back at her. The final moment came quietly. She stood in the kitchen, her face a mixture of confusion, frustration, and fear. I handed her the documents, the notes, the receipts. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't make a scene. I simply said, I've collected everything, every word, every action. The truth is here. It always was. Her eyes filled with tears, not the tears of humility, but of realization. The daughter-in-law who thought she could manipulate. Her way into dominance had met someone she could not control, someone calm, precise, and unyielding. By evening, she had retreated to her room. Blake, now fully aware, supported my quiet authority, relieved that the house had returned to its rightful order, and I, Margaret, stood in the kitchen, sipping my coffee, listening to the hum of the evening, knowing the truth had been delivered without a single shout, a single drama, or a single loss of dignity. The revenge was sweet, but not loud. It was calm, deliberate, and absolute. She would think twice before attempting such audacity again. And more importantly, I had reclaimed my home, my authority, and my peace. Weeks later, the neighborhood whispered, Blake learned. And even the daughter-in-law realized the careful precision of my strategy. No one had been embarrassed, but everyone had witnessed the consequences of arrogance and manipulation. And as I sat by the window one evening, Margaret, mother-in-law observer, strategist, sipping my coffee, I smiled. The flowers from my garden still bloomed. The house was quiet, and the balance had been restored. The best revenge is never loud. It is quiet. It is inevitable. And tonight, it was mine.